Hey guys, Jody Blackwelder here with Outdoor Crusade, and today we have a special guest, Terri Smith. Now, Terri is an executive, and I don't know, she functions at a high level, bunch of people under her at her executive job, but also she's trying to create a off the grid homestead, and that's why she's with us today. And Terri, I appreciate you joining us. Um, so just to start out, tell us tell us your backstory, kind of how you decided that you wanted to live off the grid.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, I guess it starts when I was a kid. I grew up in Pittsburgh, right outside of the city. So back in the 80s, Pittsburgh wasn't such a huge city yet. So we were able to, maybe 5 minutes outside of the city, get to a lot of country, a lot of woods. Grew up in the woods just like any 80s kid. And just kind of fell in love with being outside, kayaking, hiking. And both of my parents were really big into gardening. So at 5 years old, my parents split. They both had their own separate homes. So I got two gardens to work in, which I thought was really cool. I got to learn new things from each of them. And I kind of carried that with me my whole life, even though, teenage years, young adult, raising kids, I didn't have a lot of resources or time to like get my hands in the dirt, but I just always loved that. So I guess that's kind of where it began.
All right, so now you're married, kids. How do you talk your husband into say, hey, I think it'd be great to just go and live off the land somewhere. Was he with that, or was he like,
So he grew up in New Haven in the city, right next to Yale. He'll kill me for saying this funny stuff, but when we first met, he wasn't even into camping. So we tried to do a camping trip, and he's like, "I don't like bugs and smoke," and I was like, "Too bad. You either come with me or we're going camping. I'll go camping with my friends." And he, reluctantly joined me a couple times, kind of got used to those types of things. I know he ventured out a lot when he was a kid, but in his adult life, not so much. So then when COVID hit, we were kind of all bored in our homes, as you can remember, and we were just like not knowing what's happening with the world. And we're like, let's get out of here. Let's go try to find somewhere where we can just get away from the city, get away from people, have that freedom, whatever that might look like. And we had no idea at the time really what that was going to look like. And so we just did it. We opened up a map and we said, where is the most green? Anywhere about 3 hours away, no more than 3 hours away from where we currently live. And that's quite literally how we found our property. So,
okay? So what some people, when they roll into this, they already have like skill sets. I mean, they may have been raised in a situation where, doing this transition is really easy. But like far as you and your husband, and really you, like how much of the skill sets have you had to learn um, in the last 4 years or so since you started doing this?
I mean, pretty much everything. So, my husband's very handy and he's a plumber. And I've worked in construction and facilities for a long time. So, we have some of those like basic mechanical skills. But, like, I mean, from splitting wood to building fires to building sheds, greenhouses, flower beds. We raising chickens, neither one of us knew any of that. So, I'm kind of a type of person who's like, I don't know how to do that yet. And no matter what it is, I'm like, I'll figure it out, right? If I've never touched it or never done that, I can figure out a good resource to go to. Who can I go? Who's an expert at this? What are my resources online? And I just kind of try stuff, and it's been really fun for both of us to try new things, and it's really been an adventure. Just you know, FAFO, right? So
Yeah.
just trying new things, and some things don't work, and some things work horribly. And like for example, right now, I'm quitting strawberries, and it's fine, Like I'm doing great at a bunch of other things that I'm growing, but strawberries is just, I tried to make cheese. nope, done with that for a while. I realized I need to go spend some time with an expert. So, yeah, I guess just trying new things and failing is okay. And just, picking yourself back up and trying something new. So,
Yeah, so I grew up on a farm here in North Carolina. Actually, our farm is really close to like the Daniel Boone homestead. So in the we live on Bear Creek, which is like a kind of a creek that he mentioned a lot, hunting on. So, and we've been here for about 5 generations. It's kind of been handed down. So I noticed, like, has my grandparents and then my parents, whenever they would farm, they some things, talking about strawberries, some things are a lot of work. And whenever you say, I have this much time during the day and I have this much time on the weekends to do this, like, how important is this to our survival? How important is this to our daily? And, they started, buying a lot of things, or not a lot of things, but some things you just can buy so cheap, even organic, that you just can't afford to put the time in to raise and that kind of thing. So, like, what was the first things that whenever you started a homestead, you go out, you buy this land? Was there any kind of structures or anything there that you could use, or did you
there was
just?
literally just raw land. There wasn't even a driveway onto the property.
All right,
So,
so the first thing would be getting a driveway, but then, like, what were some of the first steps that you made as far as getting that going?
Um, well, it was interesting, like figuring out the landscaping piece. Like, we have to hire somebody to cut our grass because we tried to do it ourselves. We're like, we live 3 hours away. So, on those weeks when it rains, like, you can't get out there, you're limited. And so, navigating, like, what can we do ourselves in our circumstance versus what we need to hire someone to do? How much does that cost? Can we afford that? Yeah, we put the driveway in, and then it was just kind of like step by step, what's next. So we got a big camper. We just went on Facebook Marketplace, randomly bought this like huge camper, not great condition, inexpensive. We've been 4 years living out of it at this point. So we got those kind of two things underway. And then we did install a well. That was one of the first things we had to do because we were like transporting water in these jugs, these massive jugs, every time we went from our home to there, or we would find a neighbor up there or a gas station where we could fill up water. And we're just like, okay, well is a priority. So though that's kind of like we learned as we went what we had to invest in and what was not, like to your point, not worth our time to do or not do. So more failures, basically.
So the where you at? Like, well, one, I just want to cover this first. Both of you work. Uh, like, how much time do you say, like, in a 2 month period, do you spend, there building this out?
So my husband owns his own plumbing business, so he has a little bit of flexibility sometimes on like Fridays to get out there earlier, or if he gets a day off, something falls through, he'll head out there. But not a lot. Like even in the summer, we can't always go every weekend, so that's a little stressful for me because I know I have a lot of things growing there. Or like we have like a vine beetle issue right now on our grapevines, and we're like so scared we're gonna show up there next weekend and they're just gonna be obliterated. So we don't spend definitely not enough time, right? Not enough, not as much time as we want. But the end goal is kind of like take the time to do what we can for now with the future forward of eventually we want to live off of the land there, right? So fruit trees, super important. We put those in first year. Grapevines, we put those in this year. So we're kind of like navigating, like when we go, we're very intentional about what we're going to be spending our time doing, making lists. We just had a conversation yesterday about priorities so that we're at least aligned when we go out there and we're not frustrated with each other. Like your priority is different than mine. And that has caused some, issues in the past, but we're learning how to like figure those things out and communicate better, so that when we go there, we're spending an intentional time. So sometimes we're there every weekend, sometimes we're there every other weekend, but it's a 3 hour drive. So like this weekend, I can't go until Saturday morning. So I'm gonna get up there early Saturday, and then I'm gonna leave Sunday afternoon. And I get the one night and the 2 days, and that's pretty much it.
So, what about the kids? Like, how old are they, and why they think about all this?
So they're 15 and 20. They're not definitely not as excited as we are. So sometimes they'll hang out here together on the weekends. Sometimes they bring friends. When our family from Pittsburgh comes to visit, they always try to come with us. Sometimes even big groups of friends. Like last year, my daughter brought like 7 kids, and that was a blast. And they went down to the pond and, went hiking and kayaking and stuff and the fires. But yeah, they're definitely not as invested as we are. Like they're teenagers living in their teenage world in a city, right? So to them, it's like a reprieve that an every once in a while thing. It's not like I think but they appreciate the investment we're making because this is also for their future. Like
Right.
my daughter mentions, like, I can't wait until I have kids and I bring them to grandma's farm. And like, those are some of the things that we're really looking forward to.
So, you got the camper, getting like the trees, the garden, that kind of stuff. So, like, what is it that you plan on working on next year? I mean, what kind of permanent structure are you hoping to get built there?
Yeah, we're kind of trying to finalize right now what kind of house we're going to build. So we are planning on building a permanent structure. Just something very simple, very, humble, like maybe 30 by 40, 2 bedrooms, very basic, great views. We're like on a mountaintop and we have a view of the North Valley. So we get great sunrises and sunsets and great views. So we want to do a lot of windows. Um, and then we plan to have some kind of a garage, maybe a pavilion for entertaining people. Definitely an outdoor kitchen. That's one of my dreams. So, I could
Right.
bring things over there, process, just bring everything right over to the outdoor kitchen all summer. So, those are some of our, you know, long-term plans.
So, you thinking about doing like a stick built type thing or like a barnuminium or
No, I think we're gonna do like, foundation frame, all those
yeah,
things.
stick? Yeah.
We found a general contractor who's looking at plans with us right now. We'll pull our own permits, but yeah.
Okay, very cool. So, let's say that everything continues and your 15-year-old goes off to college. Are you going to sell out, move out, and that's going to be the home at that place, or what's the game plan there?
Yeah, I think that's the long-term goal. We are talking about seasonality because it's zone 5B. It gets very cold up there, and with the north-facing valley, it can be really tough. We've gone up there a couple times in the dead of winter. We're like, open the door and the wind hits your face, and you're just like, whew, okay, okay. But I've been learning to embrace that in the case that we do choose to live there year round. But we're looking at even into like maybe like seasonally raising goats or pigs or chickens and how we could possibly make that happen by only being there for like 6, 7 months, and then maybe being somewhere warmer, like, the snowbird thing, maybe in Florida or North Carolina or something like that. So we're still kind of exploring those options. But yeah, that is the intention is once the kids are out, they kind of are already understanding that that's where we're going to be based out of most of the year. And so they're kind of like making plans for that already.
So, like, I know with a lot of people who are like having the homestead or have like a off grid living, like what you do, a place to get away to, get out of the city. I mean, definitely. But like, how much have you incorporated like knowing where your food's from, that type thing? Like, how much of that have you incorporated into just your daily life? There where you at now.
Yeah, so I think diving into just the homesteading world in general opened our eyes to like so many things. It's almost like you're almost like upset that you're not ignorant anymore sometimes because like you can't really put the genie back in the bottle, right? So like I'm so conscious about like when you were talking about like you can buy certain things organic, how like what does organic mean? who's like claiming these things and certifying these things, and what are the things that are worth it for us to grow ourselves, like for the whole year. Like spaghetti squash, big one, we eat that a lot, we grow that, we store it, I know how to store that now. So yeah, I think it just really opened our eyes to like so many things. What are the ingredients in the food that we're eating? Because as you start making things yourself, like pickled eggs and mead and wine and all those things that I've started making, it's like an aha moment. Like when you go and buy things at the store, you're like, what is in this? Like mayonnaise, for example. So frustrating. I can't find a good natural mayonnaise. So I want to make it at home, but like I have to be home to always do that, right? And I'm not. I travel about 50% of the time for my work. So like today I'm flying out and I'll be gone until Thursday afternoon. So I'm not like home every day to just say, okay, I'm going to home make these mayonnaise because I can be sure of what the ingredients are. So it's
Right.
definitely been a challenge having to pick and choose my battles with those things, wanting to like make everything myself and make sure that it's coming from all the resources are coming from a safe place.
So in a perfect world, like where you could like, create your foods, this and that. So what would be like the top five things that is in your house right now that you're like, man, I hate I had to settle for that. Like what's the top five? You can't come up with five, top three things that you want to make yourself and always have available like right now.
Eggs. So we had chickens, we got rid of them, we're going to get them back. But for now, having to go and buy eggs, that's like, I would say number one, because it also like is included in so many ingredients of things. So not only does that just impact eating your eggs every day and knowing what is going into those eggs, but like, for example, even using those eggs that I'm buying in mayonnaise. So that impacts a lot of other things. Definitely wine, because I have really enjoyed, that's one of the main things that I've really enjoyed making myself. Apple wine, particularly, you can make a lot of different flavors. It's a very good base. And we still buy wine, right? Because I can't just make enough to produce to always have it. But so that's something I do feel like I'm settling for. Um, I guess that's really probably the main two things, to be honest.
Okay.
And
So
veggies, like just any veggies, that I know are easy to grow. Like I run out of garlic every year, so this year I planted more. That's an easy one to like set it and forget it. So when I have to go buy a garlic bulb from the store, it's like painful, it's so silly, but that's one of those
yeah.
things too.
So do you ever see like say 10, 15 years from now and all of a sudden you have like your own label, you got just a beautiful bottle and you got your logo design of your own wine that you make and you like roll into that kind of business for that could that be like a startup for you at some point since you're kind of passionate about that?
Maybe I've found that like all of the homesteading things that I do, I enjoy doing them for myself and my family and friends more than like monetizing it. Maybe in the future, like I'll do a little farmer's market or, sell eggs or something like that. But for now, that's not my intention. Like, I mean, I'm very like entrepreneurial, so possibly in the future it'll be like, oh, this is just an automatic thing I have to pursue. But today, that's not really where my heart's at with any of it.
Okay. The so I know you're getting ready to have to fly out. I won't keep you much longer, but like whenever you sit down with your husband, right, and you're sitting there and y'all talk, because I know I've been married for a while, and I know kind of. So you're sitting there and you're wanting to like talk him into investing some more money up there and like so critters or maybe a hot house since it's going to be cold there so much. Like, how do you like segue into that? And how much success do you have like once you bring it up?
Well, I think I usually start off with saying like, please don't hate me. I know you think I'm crazy. It's like pretty standard. But at this point, he's just like, okay, what do you got? Like, we're so far down this path. Like, I'm just always like shooting things out, and he's amazing, supportive, like always kind of making it happen, even if it's not something that's like an immediate priority to him. But I think it's been for sure like a lesson for both of us too that Sometimes our partner might have an idea that we don't really understand until it comes to fruition. But when you trust that process and you get all the way to the end, it's like, I'm so glad we did that. You know, like our grapevines, for example. We put in a small vineyard this year and I had to order them online 6 months in advance. They showed up to our property here in Connecticut, which is a different growing zone. So they showed up like 2, 3 weeks too early for our growing zone up there, but I really didn't have a way to ship them there. So then I had to like keep them moist and make sure they didn't die. And then we had one weekend where we had to put them in the ground and it was snowing. We're there with our auger we rented and our tiller that we rented, and it was like literal insanity. And but afterwards, we were just like so pleased with our final product and excited to have a vineyard, and that was one of his dreams. So it kind of started with my lunacy, and then he kind of carried it through to fruition, and now we're both like, you know, pleased with the product. It's like embracing that those tough moments, like doing it tired, you know, those are sometimes when you get the biggest reward.
Right. Well, I can go ahead. I will share this. So I live in the foothills, on the edge of the foothills, North Carolina. And where we live, like when I grew up, my dad, he had an orchard. We had at one point 600 peach trees and 300 apple trees. But we live right there where like we always get a frost in late April, that kind of stuff. So it would like, you know, it'd kill them off. In 5 years, we'd have 2 years that we had about nothing, 1 year so, and then like 2 years of, really great. So I could just imagine like you in the mountains, you're trying to grow this, and especially like we're in North Carolina, so being up, your elevation and that far up in the country, it's going to be a challenge. So, have you been like researching like people around that area, kind of what they grow and what they do to kind of, because you don't have to reinvent the wheel if you just kind of ride around and see like what the old timers have figured out for themselves.
Yeah, we have some great resources. Like we have a couple friends who are farmers. We get a whole cow and a whole pig every year from one of our friends, for example. And they've given us some great resources and people to ask questions of. Like we have other farmer friends who grow other things. And so we kind of are, after being there for a while, we're seeing what people are successful with. And then just researching the crap out of everything. Zone 5B, Zone 5B, ChatGPT already knows what my growing zone is every time I ask it, for example. But it's an extra challenge where we are because of our elevation. We're in a little microclimate there. So, like, you can check the weather and it's not going to be accurate really right where you are. It might be for the surrounding area, but sometimes it's definitely a challenge. So I think going into it anticipating you're going to have loss, right? Like we might
Yeah.
show up and the vine beetles destroyed our vines and maybe we have to cut them and kind of start over next year. Those are some things that I just have learned to have the lowest expectations so that when things work out, I'm very pleased, like just kind of knowing like, hey, I tried strawberries for 3 years and they didn't work out. And that's like totally okay. Hey, now I have a free bed. I can try something new.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what our approach has been with that grow zone because it's definitely a challenge. It's true.
So, so are you going to like create a blog or anything or a YouTube channel of all this process, or where you at with that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so I think long term, I definitely want to invest some more time and energy into that. We've been kind of collecting. I'm a photographer too by trade, so I used to have a photography business when my kids were growing up. So I have like some really great images and content that I plan to use. And over the years, I've just taken a bunch of pictures and I've written some things down and some videos that hopefully in the future I will be able to invest a little bit more time in to start growing that. But that's definitely what one of my passions is for the future.
Yeah. So when you get to that point, let us know and we'll give you a shout out.
Cool.
So,
Awesome.
well, I know you got to fly out, and I appreciate your time this morning, Terry. I appreciate you sitting down and sharing your story, and it's been a fun chat. I just appreciate you coming on with us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I
Yeah.
can't wait to see
So,
what other content you put out.
well, thank you. So, for those watching, listening, just go to outdoorcrusade.com. You'll find this podcast plus plenty of others in the future. Follow us on social media. And Terri, once again, thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much,
All right, bye bye.
everyone.